Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. September 15th, 2017.
105 here on the great WRKO. Okay, my friends, I want to dive back into the phone lines. A couple lines are available if you want to jump on. 617-266-6868. Okay, as I like to say, let's throw one more log on the fire. So, big story up on Breitbart. Very interesting. Honestly, I don't know how I feel about this. But anyway, I want to ask you, it's our poll question of the day. But before I get to the poll question, so according to Breitbart, Trump voters, supporters across the country are now beginning to burn his signature Make America Great Again hats. So it's not the left or the libs or the Dems that are doing it, but the Trumpistas, the Trump supporters. And they're doing this in protest against his, what appears to be, at least for now, his big amnesty for no wall deal with Democrats. And so what is now happening is that there is a hat burning taking place by his supporters all over the country. Some of them are doing it, online, on whatever. They're filming it and they're posting it online. So, in other words, because they feel that he is betraying them on an absolutely core fundamental issue. And according to Breitbart, I just want to read a couple of paragraphs, which I think sums it up really to a T. That Trump has sold millions of hats. So they say if they're starting to burn them, many more are going to start to burn if Trump goes ahead with the vaguely described plan to support the Democrats' big dream amnesties in exchange for token improvements to border security. Despite his campaign winning pro-American immigration reform and border wall platform. And I think this is the key paragraph. Quote, more importantly, the hat burning may presage a huge demoralization among Trump's loyal followers and cause his support to drop down to the basement levels achieved by President George W. Bush 43, when, remember, he pushed for an amnesty. Remember the big amnesty he pushed for in 2006, 2007, and middle America rose up in revolt? Well, quote, Bush's ratings fell to almost 30% despite the booming economy. Once he alienated Republicans in 2006 by pushing for these cheap labor amnesty bills. And I remember that. The economy was booming. I know the war in Iraq was not going well then, but the economy was booming. He had just won a re-election against Jean-Francois Kerry. And that's when he and Karl Rove made the big push for amnesty. His base turned on him. It broke his presidency. And his approval numbers, they didn't just fall to 30%. I think they fell into the 20s. And so Breitbart is now sounding the alarm, saying something very similar could happen to Trump if he goes down this road of a deal, amnesty DACA deal with getting no wall. If this deal goes through the way they're talking about it right now, they fear this could break Trump's presidency. Now, as this is taking place, with Trump supporters now burning their hats, Ann Coulter is now saying maybe it's time, I swear to you, to impeach President Trump because of his, what she says is his definite betrayal or upcoming pending betrayal on DACA. At this point, here's what she tweeted. Who doesn't, in caps, want Trump impeached? And in particular, what has infuriated her were the Trump tweets that said this, quote, about the Dreamers. Quote, does anybody really want to throw out good, educated, and accomplished young people who have jobs, some serving in the military? Really? That's what Trump tweeted Thursday morning. They have been in our country for many years through no fault of their own, brought in by parents at a young age, plus big border security. And so Ann Coulter has now said she is so disgusted with Trump, not only will she no longer support him, I guess she's symbolically burning her Make America Great Again hat. Maybe not literally, but symbolically. But now maybe it's time for Trump to be impeached. And I think by extension, the implication here is clear, even if his own supporters don't rise up and demand that he be impeached, when the Democrats do try to impeach him, should they win next year's midterms, that Trump supporters should let him be impeached. In other words, let him get burned to the ground. Now, I want to make 2 points and then go back into the phone lines. Point number one. I don't like this deal. You know this. I don't like this pending deal. I don't like amnesty for DACA. You know I'm leading the charge on this. However, look, to me, I want to put pressure on the president because I don't want him to sign this deal. However, all of this being said, let's wait until that's the thing that amazes me is there's no deal yet. I mean, nothing's been put on paper yet. It's Schumer talking with Trump. It's Trump, Chuck and Nancy talking with Trump. It's Trump talking with Ryan and McConnell. They're yakking. They've got a framework, yes. But so far, there's no concrete final deal. So let's wait for the final deal before we even start talking about we're finished and never again and I'm done with him and I'm, going to burn the guy to the ground. Let's at least wait for there to actually be legislation, to me, before you get to that point. The second point, since when did impeachment become like a political football? I said this to Brittany when we were doing our show prep this morning. I said, Brittany, you have to actually commit a crime to be impeached. The liberals are the same, we're going to impeach Trump. Well, why? Well, we just don't like him. Well, look, if he breaks his promise, and if he does do the DACA amnesty, okay, it's bad, it's wrong, I disagree with it, but the politicians break their promises. I mean, it's not a crime. Now, you don't vote for him, you vote against him, you write op-eds, you protest, whatever, but that's not grounds for impeachment. It's like, arrest him. Well, arrest him for what? Well, I just don't like what he's saying or what he's doing, so arrest him. But no, you got to break the law to be arrested. You got to commit a crime to be arrested. It's the same thing with impeachment. You don't just impeach the guy because, well, he screwed us. He shafted us. I wrote a book plugging him, and now he shafted us, so I want him impeached. You don't just impeach because you disagree or feel betrayed by somebody. You have to actually commit a freaking crime, high crimes and misdemeanors. Now, as for the burning of the Make America Great Again baseball caps, let me ask all of you, and it's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Bill Kelly Financial Services. Have you burned your Make America Great Again cap? And I'm not saying so much, literally, I set it on fire. But in other words, are you done with him? Are you throwing that away? Symbolically or literally, you're done, you feel betrayed and shafted. If the answer is yes, text the letter A to 680-680. If the answer is no, I'm going to wait, see what the final deal is, and then we'll talk. Text the letter B to 680-680. As always, you can vote online at WRKO.com, 617-266-6868. Are you burning your Make America Great Again cap? Are you done with the president? And Ann Coulter says he should be impeached. Should he? Brittany, I know you want to weigh in on this. Are you, how do you stand on this issue? You had a beautiful Make America Great Again cap. Are you burning it?
No, I'm a no on this. I'm not going to burn my Make America Great Again hat or t-shirt. I have a couple of t-shirts, because I just think that this is a little premature. I want to wait to see how the deal goes and everything. But also, the main issue here is that the Democrats beat Donald Trump to the media. They got out and they had their message ready for the media, and now they are in control. So I think that this is just kind of like an amateurish thing that happened here. The president should know that he needs to get his message out before the Democrats so that they don't have this narrative and they don't take control over the media. And now, all of his supporters and everything, they're all in hysteria now, including Ann Coulter, who just wants a soundbite on Real Clear Politics. So everyone's in hysteria now, so Trump needs to stop being an amateur here in politics and really get the message out of really what's going on. Are we going to get the wall? Is he really going to sign DACA? I've said this a million times to the man. Please just hold a press conference and speak to the American people rather than tweeting, because that gets lost in Twitter sphere there. So this is just a little amateur move by the president.
So you think the big problem here is that Pelosi, Chuck and Nancy...
Hello, they're career politicians. They know what they need to do to get their message out and to twist what Donald Trump really, what his agenda is, to their benefit, so that his supporters will be in hysteria. So that's what I think is going on
You're saying
here.
so they beat him to the punch.
They did. They absolutely did. They
And
got
now
out to the media.
They set the terms of debate.
Right.
And now Trump is basically playing catch-up.
He's playing catch-up, absolutely.
617-266-6868. Very interesting point there, Brittany. Okay, Larry in Belmont. You're up next. Go ahead, Larry.
Jeff, I want to respectfully disagree with some of your previous callers.
Okay.
Everyone keeps telling you to calm down and wait to see what happens. That's the wrong move. Now, I don't mean to, burn the hats down and all that stuff, but why are the Democrats always seen successful in the majority and when they're in the minority? They scream the loudest. They make the most noise. They get their point out everywhere. These idiots with Antifa and Black Lives Matter, they are morons, but they're always in the news because they're always getting their message out. If we want to stop this, we have to be loud. We have to get the message out that we don't want DACA. We're too quiet. The silent majority can't stay silent on this.
Larry, I got to tell you, do you work for the NSA, Larry?
No.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're almost reading my mind. Or conversations between Grace and I, because that's what I've been doing for the last couple of days. I go, no, I'm going to speak out against DACA. I'm going to speak out against the DACA amnesty. I want to make noise because I want the president to hear that I think he and most of his supporters and base, we don't want this. Right. So I don't want him to just hear from the echo chamber in Washington. I want him to hear also from us. And that's why, I'm going to hit the table now, I'm pounding the table on this issue. Because you're right. The louder you are, the more you're heard.
That's the exact thing to do. There's no need to burn. I never understood burning something after you paid for it. They've already gotten their money for it. Just when are they all destroying Ivanka's shoes and stuff because they didn't like her?
No, Larry, I agree with you. Actually, I have one of those. It's a nice hat.
$20 for that hat.
Yeah.
I'm not burning it yet.
Yeah, I paid $20 for that hat. It's a beautiful baseball cap. I'm not going to burn that hat. I agree with you. Archie in Eastern Michigan. Go ahead, Archie. Oh, sorry, Eastern Mass. My bad. Archie in Eastern Mass.
Hi, Jeff. Great show.
Thank you.
On the impeachment, it's not a matter of if, it will happen. And let me tell you why. That this has been setting up for months. In the Senate, you've had all these. In the House, you've had these all Russian investigations to get Trump by Ryan and McConnell. You had Rosenstein appoint Mueller to get Trump. And now what you have is his base, who's going to get fed up and mad when he does his DACA. They're the ones who are going to file impeachment. I think it will be based on something Mueller comes out with, whatever he comes out with. And the conservatives will file the impeachment. And then, of course, everybody else will go along. They say, oh, this is awful, Schumer, McConnell. And that's how it's going to flush out. I think it's going to flush out in the next 2 months, Jeff.
Archie, I'm up against it. I've got Brittany yelling in my ear. She's just doing her job, by the way, but just very quickly. But, Ann Coulter wrote a book in Trump We Trust.
Right.
She plugged him. She promoted him. She made money off of him. For her to now come out and say, impeach the guy, like destroy the guy.
Yes.
I mean, is that not the act of a backstabber?
No. It's all politics, Chef. Like with the conservatives, they're going to have to impeach him to get reelected. These congressmen, the party guy, the Tea Party guys, they're forced to do this to get reelected.
I hear what you're saying, Archie. Well, look, I got to tell you this. If Ann Coulter starts calling for Trump to be impeached, Trump may have a problem. I mean, if she represents a sizable chunk of his base, that they want to destroy him that bad, ay. Greg in Maine, you're up next. Go ahead, Greg.
Hey, Jeff, thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
This whole thing with DACA and President Trump and all that, it's really got me alarmed. I mean, I changed my political affiliation to this man. I've been in many battles on, Facebook and other things, even being called a Nazi because I believe in what he stands for. And then him doing this is just like a big slap in the face to, one of the people who is part of his base. And I just don't, I'm trying to understand, I'm trying to take a wait-and-see approach, but I don't know how long I can last. I mean, there's got to be some way we the people can make him stand up and listen. I don't take the excuse that General Kelly and all of that is shielding him from the truth because he must watch TV. He must be hearing something. I mean, I don't understand his change of heart. Who's whispering in his ear? Who's getting him to change?
Well, Greg, look, listen, a very good call, and thank you for that call. Here's my advice to all of you now in Kuhner country. Tweet him. I'm not kidding. Tweet him. Call the White House. Call. Just burn up the phone lines. You say, I voted for President Trump. I do not want amnesty for DACA. Period. End of story. Full stop. Now, I have to say this. I don't know if you caught Tucker Carlson's show last night, his opening monologue. Brilliant. I mean, I know Trump watches TV. Tucker Carlson took a flamethrower to that whole agreement. I mean, he dismantled it. It was an absolutely brilliant monologue of how bad an amnesty for DACA was, or is. The plan is, how bad this plan is. So he's got to be seeing a little bit of something, but I just think it's time for us to say, look, enough is enough. We're not going to accept it. The other thing is, and I've said this before, but it has to be reiterated again and again, the Democrats, I think it's a red herring. They're snookering him because they can give him all the border security that he wants. Drones, ICE agents, sensors, you name it. Like I said yesterday, put tanks on the border. That can all be pulled back. The drones, back. ICE agents, back. The tanks, back. Sensors, they can be dismantled. But the wall, that baby's permanent. Permanent. That's why they won't give him the wall. The Republicans won't give it to him, or at least the establishment, and the Democrats won't. They will not give him that wall. So he can talk until he's blue in the face. He's not going to get anything for that wall because they don't want to give him the wall. Now, another thing that I think he doesn't quite see coming, and I would stress to them if I was his advisor, the more you get on border security, believe it or not, is going to weaken your case for the wall. Because what Chuck Schumer and Pelosi, what Chuck and Nancy are going to say, well, who needs a wall now? We've given him billions in, quote, border security. How many more drones? How many more ICE agents? How many more sensors? My God, if I were the Democrats, if they had half a brain, I'd say, put the National Guard on the border. Because they can be pulled back. Say, how much more security you want? Mr. President, come on now. You're being paranoid about the wall. So, to me, unless he gets something now, if he's going to do a deal, I don't think he should, but if he's going to do a deal, okay, guys, you really want DACA? You want to do it? Fine. I want the wall, and I want E-Verify, and I want the RAISE Act, a permanent cut in legal immigration that I know is going to boost wages and boost jobs for Americans. Now, that's a serious deal. the Democrats will never go for it. And if you can't leverage DACA, if you can't do it now, when are you going to do it? 617-266-6868. More with your calls next.
WRKO, the voice of Boston.
136 here on the great WRKO, 617-266-6868. We are going to continue to take your calls. And Berkeley, what happened at Berkeley yesterday with Ben Shapiro and the assault on free speech? But first, joining us for a quick interview, State Representative Jim Lyons. Representative Lyons, it's always great to have you on the Kuhner Report. How are you?
Great, Jeff. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, listen, Jim, anything for you, buddy. So there is a petition out there that you're obviously one of the key people spearheading it. For the people of Massachusetts, what is this petition about, and why should they care?
So you're right. I'm working with a group. Tom Harvey is the chairman of Stop Taxpayer Abortion, and Bernadette, my wife, and I are two of the original signers. So in Massachusetts, a lot of folks don't even realize it because for years it's been pushed off to the side. But our tax dollars actually pay for abortions in Massachusetts, unlike the federal government where the Hyde Amendment restricts the use of our tax dollars being paid for abortion. In Massachusetts, because of a Supreme Court ruling in 1981, we are forced to have our tax dollars pay for abortion. And what this initiative petition will do will simply say that there is nothing in the Constitution that allows our tax dollars to be used to pay for abortion. The decision then will go back to the Massachusetts legislature. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, bring forth an amendment that educates people, explains to them what's going on. I mean, when you think about what Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 112, Section 12K, defines abortion in our own laws today as the destruction of an unborn child, the intentional destruction of an unborn child. Now, the question that I ask is, why should we be forced to pay for that? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get the issue before the public. We've got a lot of people who are helping us, and we're grateful for the opportunity to share this with Kuhner country today.
Bingo. Jim, I got to tell you, I mean, you almost took the words right out of my mouth. Why? In other words, look, whatever, you know me, I'm pro-life. I believe abortion is murder. I believe in life from conception until natural death. However, that's just my opinion. That's fine. But let's say even if you're for abortion, just for the sake of argument, women's rights or women's reproductive rights or you're pro-choice, why should taxpayers have to pay for somebody's abortion? What's the reasoning behind that, Jim?
Well, the reasoning is because the Supreme Court in Massachusetts decided that if the legislature was going to fund the birth during a pregnancy through Medicaid, then they came up with the twisted logic, and therefore the Massachusetts taxpayers also had to fund what Massachusetts general law calls the willful destruction of an unborn child. I mean, there's absolutely no logic in that. And if people are concerned, and as you point out, there are other people who don't agree with you and me on this issue, and that's fine. If people want to pay for that and they want to set up something privately, for example, Planned Parenthood, who basically is the number one receiver of our tax dollars, in Massachusetts alone, they have $25 million in assets. If they want to set aside some of their money to pay for what Massachusetts general law describes as the intentional destruction of an unborn child, that's up to them. But to force the taxpayers of Massachusetts to use our hard-earned tax dollars to pay for that is simply wrong, and we want the public to know. It's been far too long, as we are seeing on Massachusetts on Beacon Hill. I mean, the radical progressives are pushing every single thing that they can, and yet they want to silence any opposition. So what we're trying to do is really educate the public, let them know what's going on, and take this ridiculous constitutional law that was passed by the Supreme Court in 1981. Since 81, Jeff, hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent, and we don't need to do that anymore.
Jim, to me, this is just incredible. We don't have money for roads.
Right.
We don't have money for schools, for hospitals, for basic services, but we've got money to pay for women's abortions?
Exactly.
Unbelievable. Jim, I'm with you 1,000%. Where can people go to get more information and sign this petition?
So what we'd like people to do is go to our website, stoptaxpayerabortion.org, and sign up. Ask us for a sheet. If they can get 5 signatures, 10 signatures, however many they can get. We need people to participate. It's a simple process, signing a petition, and we'll send the information along to them. But the name of the organization is stoptaxpayerabortion.org. We would ask you to promote it and ask all of your friends in Kuhner country to go to our website and sign up.
Stoptaxpayerabortion.org.
That's it, buddy.
Jim, after the show is done, I'm going to go. I'm going to get more information. I'm going to sign up. Hopefully they'll send me some sheets. I will sign. I know Dr. Grace, my wife, will sign. And I'm going to try to get as many people to sign as possible. I may even try to twist Brittany's arm into signing it.
Great. Thank you very much.
God bless you, Jim. Keep up the good fight, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Right.
State Representative Jim Lyons, really just a great Irish Catholic. I love this guy. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, before I dive back into the phone calls, okay, let me ask you this question. Did you ever think you would see the day that Berkeley, yes, Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley, the epicenter of Antifa, of Black Lives Matter, of the radical left, would actually have a wall up before Trump would with Mexico? I swear, obviously it's much smaller, it's a campus, but this is now the state of free speech in America. I want all of you to think about this. So, talk show host Ben Shapiro, by the way, he filled in for me a few times when I had my show in Washington, D.C., but let that go. He's, in fact, a never-Trump Republican. He doesn't like Trump, doesn't like much of Trump's nationalist or America First agenda, so he's actually a never-Trumper. Well, but he's, a conservative on some issues. Ben Shapiro was scheduled to give a speech at Berkeley in front of about 300 to 400 students. Campus faculty said no. The students said no. Antifa vowed to burn Berkeley to the ground. They vowed to put thousands on the streets with baseball bats, batons, baseball bats embedded with nails, homemade flamethrowers. And this time, however, there was such a national spotlight on Shapiro's speech that the mayor of Berkeley and the chancellor of Berkeley had to respond because previous times the police were told to stand down. And this was seen now as an epic battle for the First Amendment. And so Ben Shapiro showed up yesterday, delivered his speech, but to make sure there was adequate security, Berkeley had to be turned, I kid you not, into an armed camp. Police officers everywhere. Security dogs everywhere, including, I swear to you, concrete barriers, cement, concrete barriers. They put them up everywhere to block off the Antifa protesters, to allow Ben Shapiro to speak and those with a ticket to actually be unmolested and unassaulted as they tried to make their way into the hall to listen to Ben Shapiro speak. Listen to him. Roll it, Brittany.
Thank Berkeley, which I have to say, conservatives here have done something amazing. They've just achieved something incredible. If you look outside, there's K-Bar everywhere. They've built basically these structures to keep Antifa from invading the premises. So that means that Berkeley has actually achieved building a wall before Donald Trump did. I saw a lot of headlines on the way here about how it's going to cost $600,000 in security for this event. And that is not due to me. I mean, I'm not the one out threatening to break windows. It's not due to you. You're here listening. It's due to the Antifa hard-left morons who are out there breaking windows.
$600,000 for one conservative to speak on campus. $600,000. This is the state of free speech in America today. I want you to think about this. So, for somebody to come and give their opinion in front of what, 400 students, which, by the way, when I went to university, that was routine. And we had, I'm not kidding, we had radical leftists, we had conservatives, we had liberals, we had centrists, we had pro-Palestinians, we had people who were pro-Israel. The students would sometimes make signs or whatever. You could see the signs, but nobody shouted them down. Nobody got beaten up. Nobody was being clubbed over the head. Because why? Freedom of speech. And the person who's speaking has obviously the right to speak in front of a crowd. Now, you can hiss, you can boo, but then you have to go back and sit down in your seat. You know, it's basic respect. Now, to even have a conservative speaker, you got to spend $600,000? This shows you the extent to which freedom of speech is under assault on our college campuses. We can't do this for every event. It's going to bankrupt us. And I think one of the reasons, one, there's many. There's obviously the rise of the intolerant left, the radical fascist left, which now hates the Constitution, hates the First Amendment, and wants to destroy any opposition by criminalizing speech. And what you're seeing happening in America, and I believe this is the greatest damage of all of the damage inflicted by Obama, is that he turned this nation into a nation of community activists. And those are Obama's children. And what Obama did, and I said this many times, was the third worldization of America. And you saw it through his executive amnesties. You saw it to the way he would demonize the cops and the police, how he justified Black Lives Matter, how he justified domestic hate groups and domestic terrorists who were burning down buildings and killing police officers. And the president egged them on every step of the way. In Latin America, there have been Latin American dictators who are famous for literally saying this: for my friends, everything. For my opponents, the law. In other words, for my friends, whatever you want. In this case, your allies. You want DACA? You want amnesty? You got it. You want to smash people's skulls in? You got it. You want to shut down speech you don't like? You got it. But for everybody else, the law. Jeff Kuhner, shut your mouth. You want to become an American? Get to the back of the line, and I want to see your $25,000. And jump through every hoop. Oh, hold on. You're a Latino dreamer? We think you can be a Democrat? Front of the line for you, baby. All the welfare you want, we'll give you citizenship in 5 years. Because you're a dreamer and Jeff Kuhner isn't. Furthermore, you want to see what the education system has done? Listen to this. That's why we're spending $600,000 to protect a person's right to simply speak on campus. Listen to this. Shocking poll. A recent poll by the University of Pennsylvania looking at students and young millennials across the country now shows that, according to the Penn's Annenberg Public Policy Center, listen to this shocking poll, 4 in 10 Americans, especially young Americans, cannot name any single rights in the First Amendment. Not one. Like, First Amendment, what freedoms do you have? 4 out of 10. I don't know. Freedom of speech. I don't know. Freedom of religion. I don't know. Freedom of assembly. I don't know. Freedom of expression. I don't know. The whole world looks at our Constitution as the greatest political document ever written. Do you know, when I was at the Washington Times, how many people who were dissidents in their own countries, and I don't care if they came from Eastern Europe, the Soviet Union, Africa, China, Asia, the Middle East, every time would comment, "We marvel at your Bill of Rights." And in particular, the one they always remember, the one they love, the one they say, if only we had this, was the First Amendment. They would shake their head in disbelief. You mean you have the freedom to say whatever you want to say? And worship the faith that you want to worship? And express yourself the way you, and think what you want to think? And assemble and peacefully protest your government whenever you want to? Wow. These young people today, with all due respect, don't appreciate what they have, don't know how lucky they are, and in many ways, it pains my heart to say this, I don't even think they're worthy of the freedoms that they have been bestowed. The First Amendment now, the First Amendment forever. Damon in Louisville, Kentucky. Go ahead, Damon.
Yeah.
Hello, Damon.
Yeah, I'm here.
Go ahead, Damon. The floor is yours.
Okay, can I comment on the DACA thing?
Damon, you can comment on anything, my friend.
Perfect.
This is a free speech zone. Maybe the last one left.
Right. Do you remember 2015, I think it was, when the Obama administration approved the processing and manufacture of 64 million green cards?
Yes.
Okay, so DACA is just a doorknob turning the door for that, because you don't print 64 million green cards unless there's 64 million here to take them. So this 11 million, 3.7 million, all this stuff is a big fat lie, Jeff. You know, when I was a kid, if we saw somebody Hispanic in our town, we would point, you know, I'm 49 years old now, but we would be like, whoa, look, there's a Mexican. And I tried to tell a guy I work with, I said, man, look, when we were kids, there were no Hispanic people here. He said, oh, baloney. I said, no, it's true. If we saw one, we were like, whoa, check it out, I'm Mexican. And he goes, you're kidding. I said, no, it's true. He said, wow. And everywhere you look now, Jeff, there are Hispanic people, whether they're El Salvadorians or Venezuelans or Guatemalans or Mexicans or whatever. They're everywhere.
Well, Damon, look, I got to tell you, I believe there are about 30 million, maybe even as many as 40 million illegals. I don't believe the 11 million figure. I think that's a lie. You then throw in chain migration. Remember, you give them amnesty. Their families get to come as well. What's the number you're hitting? 60, 64, 65? That's why the dear leader cut those green cards. He knows what he was doing. Okay, we're going to take many more of your calls, I promise. Final hour. And is it wrong to chant USA, USA? It is in California now. Don't touch that dial.
The voice of Boston is you. 680 WRKO Boston, 93.7 WEEI HD2 Lawrence, Boston. It's 2 o'clock.